All right. Deion Sanders is calling himself the new Dale Carnegie. Laugh. I'm not. I'm okay with it. At the very least, I would say this about Deion Sanders, and there's a reason why I'm bringing this up, and there's a reason why I'm mentioning Dale Carnegie, who I guess I should tell you who Dale Carnegie is. Historically, Dale Carnegie is the most famous or a famous sales lecturer, salesperson who created the term art of persuasion, who created it into an entire brand. Gosh, I'm going to assume the 30s, 40s, 50s, somewhere in there. But Dale Carnegie is, when you talk about sales lectures and sales training and stuff like that, Dale Carnegie is the father of all sales training. Okay? There's plenty of them now, but Dale Carnegie it's a giant name. So I'm not kidding. Deion Sanders is the football version of the most famous salesperson and lecturer, just like Dale Carnegie. I mean, if you want to say he's not Dale Carnegie outside of football, that's fine. But inside of football, he's definitely Dale Carnegie. And Deion Sanders is... He's like this. I view Deion Sanders. We can all have an opinion on this because he's perfectly fine with it, and he's the most interesting character in college sports of the last couple of decades at least, if not 50 years. I didn't say you don't find him polarizing. What I said is he's the most interesting character the sport has had in a long, long time. There's not many of them. Mike Leach would be on that list. Barry Switzer would have been on that list. Johnny Manziel might have made that most interesting character list. Barry Switzer would have made that most interesting character list. There's probably a few others here and there. But Deion Sanders is on the short list of most interesting people. He's certainly by far... present day, he's by far the most interesting character in college sports because college sports has no characters. It really doesn't. It's as vanilla as you can get. But Deion Sanders is college football's Dale Carnegie meets Tony Robbins meets Nelson Mandela. He sort of positions himself as all of those. The guy never stops selling, and he never stops promoting. And that's why, and this is why this is really important to talk about now, that's why he's a college coach and not an NFL coach. He likes to sell. I would argue his obsession with selling and promotion, and he's great at it, and he's legitimately passionate about it. His salesmanship, his Dale Carnegie type flair is the reason why I don't think he'll ever be in the NFL. I don't think he'll ever be an NFL coach. I'm not even sure. Do I think at some time, here's a first question to kick around. At some time, do you think that Deion Sanders will be offered an NFL job? I think most of you would say yes. I'm going to say probably not. No, I don't. And I don't know. I don't think even offered if he would take it. And the reason is he's the Dale Carnegie of college football. He likes to sell. He's incredibly good at it. And in the NFL, here's what I think you have to realize. This is where I don't think he's a fit, and I think he knows he's not a fit. He's incredibly good at it, and in the NFL, not only is a coach not selling at all and not supposed to sell at all, the head coach in the NFL has to lay low. You don't just have to stay in your lane in the NFL. You've got to lay low. The players are the stars, not the coach. In college football, the coach is the star, the biggest star, and mostly still in control. But in the NFL, it's just the opposite. You not only go out of your way to not be a star, even if you become a star, you got to get your head down and get out of the way. Because that's for the players, that's not the coach. And I think Deion Sanders knows that. If he were to take an NFL job, and I don't think he'll be offered an NFL job anytime soon, and I don't think it ever happens because I think he knows he'd have to give up being the star. And not only that, just being the star. I don't think this guy, we can disagree on this too, I don't think he's just driven by the ego of being primetime and all that. Certainly that's part of it. I do think he legitimately is passionate about selling what he does. I actually find the guy I find him to be sincere. I do. I don't find him to be a complete huckster. You can say it's just too much, man. The guy is relentless. I agree with that. But I do think it comes from a real place. I think he really is that guy that will just keep selling. He'd have to give up if he were to take the NFL, if he were to take an NFL gig. He'd have to give up the sales pitch. He'd have to give up sales altogether. He'd have to give up being the game's biggest promoter, his brand's biggest promoter, his program's biggest promoter. I mean, anybody that he thinks is good, he's going to promote the heck out of you. Anybody that's bad, he's going to rip you publicly and you're gone. If you coach in the NFL, you're not even among the top 5 within your own organization, really probably further down like 10 or 20 within your own organization for star power. And you better be down there that low. You have to be. That job, the NFL job, is science, backroom science. Stars are up front. In college football, it's just the opposite. So the Dale Carnegie comparison is not a joke. It came from him, and he has a book out. And guess what he's doing? He's selling. He is great for the game, and a game that is not very well played, in my opinion, in a game that has very little star power, has very little charisma. Man, he's the best thing that has happened to that game in a long time, and I mean the professional college football game. Story out today, he's coming to a town near you. It says Deion Sanders' new book dives into natural odor, that's what he said, cologne, O.J. Simpson, and a suicide attempt. Here is the sort of review from the USA Today today. Deion Sanders wrote a new motivational book that comes out Tuesday with various tips for personal success, including a chapter entitled Make Confidence Your Natural Odor. That is an entire chapter. Got it? All right, here you go. I don't use cologne, he writes in the book. Somebody might pick up on my scent and ask, what is it that you're wearing? And I say, confidence. Is it cheesy? Of course it's cheesy. I mean, go tell me a sales seminar you've been to that's not cheesy. Give me a break. You got to be able to do that to be a sales coach. According to government records, an attorney for Sanders filed an application to trademark the word confidence as a potential Sanders brand name to use for aftershave, cologne, deodorant, body sprays, lotion, and soap. I don't know. It's not a terrible name. Confidence. And you know he'll sell the heck out of it. What's weird is he doesn't wear any cologne. So, I don't know. Yeah, they're going to trademark it or trying to trademark it, which I'm not sure is possible, but there you go. He recently has been paid to sell California almonds, KFC chicken, Blenders sunglasses, and then as soon he's going to have a deal for a new line of Nike shoes. All right, what else is he doing? He's got a new book out, and he's going to be pitching it all over the country. So you're going to have to get used to a lot of Deion Sanders, even more than usual, over the next few weeks, because the guy's going to be promoting the hell out of a book. I mean, you know he'll do that. But I do think it's going to come up a lot. One, it's going to be, what do you think of the guy in general? You think it's too much? Do you buy it? Do you buy what he's selling? You think it's too much? Do you find him good for the game or a train wreck for the game? Do you find him sincere? Do you find him a huckster? I mean, there's a lot to take in with this guy, which is kind of fun and interesting. And usually we're not even talking about any personalities in college sports because they don't exist. We can have a debate about this guy. I mean, it's perfectly fine if you say, man, I don't buy it. See, I do. And I don't even like that style, and I like it. I buy it. I think the guy's legitimately that passionate about selling. Oh, it gets better. Okay, so the book is Elevate and Dominate. which aims to sell you, the reader, on 21 ways to win on and off the field. I don't know. I mean, some of you do this stuff. It's what you do for a living, so you collect all these things, and you've probably read them all. I don't know where you're going to rank this one. I don't know. In the sort of the motivational books of today, I don't know where it goes. I mean, he really is kind of amazing, though, man. He is just freaking relentless. All right, you ready for this? He describes in the book, remember the book is Elevate and Dominate. He describes in the book lessons he learned from 4 of his all-time favorite athletes. 3 of them make perfect sense. The 4th, his entire book tour. And he's not afraid. What I like about him is I like fearless people, okay? And I think he'll talk about this 4th person fearlessly, and it does make some sense, but this one's not going to get away from him. Here are the 4 people that he admires. All right, his all-time favorite athletes are Julius Erving, Dr. J, baseball player Hank Aaron, boxer Muhammad Ali, and, of course, O.J. Simpson. That one's going to come up a lot. I'll bet you in 200 interviews that happen over the next month and a half, I'll bet you him mentioning O.J. is quite possibly the first question asked. Quite possibly. The book is structured by the number 21. Deion Sanders says this is part of what I've read. I don't have the book yet, but it's part of what I read that I do find sort of admirable. The structure of the book is the number 21. It's a tribute to a 1998 book he admired by speaker and author John C. Maxwell entitled 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. Now, to his credit, I think, to just say that this is not just some meathead former football player just trying to sell a book because he's famous. Maxwell even wrote the foreword for the book and said really good things about Deion Sanders as like this motivational guy. So there you go. It's all laid in front of you now. Do you find him as interesting and compelling as I do? Do you find his constant sales pitch and motivational speeches and utter confidence, do you find it nauseating? Do you find it admirable? Do you find it effective? Now remember, Colorado was awful. 2 years ago, Colorado was the worst team by far in the college game. They won 4 games last year. Their offensive line is horrible. Their defensive line, horrible. They won 4 games, and they had no business probably winning 4 games. So I think they won the 4 games they did largely on this motivational stuff and their fearlessness. 2 years ago, they lost every game. They won 1 game, and I think it was in August against some Division I AA school. They lost by a margin of something like 26 points, which is the largest in all of football. So you got a lot there. You ever think he coaches in the NFL? Do you think he's successful at the college level? Or this whole act, this I'm Tony Robbins meets Dale Carnegie meets Nelson Mandela, do you think it runs out? Or do you think it has staying power? And you find the guy as interesting as I do?